So the gameplay footage you're seeing right now is for Skyward Sword HD, but this is done through an emulator. And the reason I'm showing off this footage, which I normally wouldn't show footage off from emulators, I'm not someone who believes that much in the ROM life, obviously, and I don't know if the person who created this did it the legal way, which is to create your own ROM, and then he modified that and did the HD texturing and stuff. But the reason I'm showing you this footage is because we are talking about Skyward Sword HD. But why are we talking about it? Well, because Eiji Aonuma himself has apparently, supposedly, reportedly hinted that Skyward Sword HD could be coming to Nintendo Switch. Now, there was a Zelda concert running in Japan. They've been having like their own concert series for a little bit now, similar to when we had the Master Quest series and all that stuff happening out here in the West. And, well, he made an appearance himself on the stage and had some words. Now, there's no video of these words because there's no video capture allowed at these events. However, we have a lot of people that have come out to confirm it and say it happened. There's an entire thread at fx.weco.net, which is all about it, and a whole bunch of people confirming it from Twitter and other social media platforms. Obviously, I don't speak Chinese or Japanese, which apparently some of this is appearing in Chinese and Japanese. Maybe it was an event in China, not Japan. I'm actually not 100% certain. But what I am certain of is that this happened and that Eiji Aonuma made an appearance. And this is being translated by Jim_Catcher from Reset Era. So I'm going off of his translation, off of what the exact quotes are from Aonuma, according to what people are saying on that website. And the quote is this: "We know what you are thinking. Skyward Sword on Switch, right?" And then apparently the audience was clapping like crazy. So, yeah. Obviously, he's teasing Skyward Sword on Switch. He's the one who mentioned Skyward Sword on the Switch. No one asked him about Skyward Sword on Switch. They obviously had some Skyward Sword music going, and then when he came on stage, he basically teased Skyward Sword is coming to Switch. He didn't announce it. This isn't an official announcement, but it's basically him saying, hey, we know. You want Skyward Sword on Switch, right? And I think he might have even been doing it to gauge the interest in it. They might not have even started development on it yet, but by bringing it up there at such an event and then seeing the crowd go nuts, that lets you know that obviously they either already have it in the works or they were gauging interest to see if they should put it in the works. Either way, Skyward Sword HD is probably coming to Nintendo Switch. Now, this has nothing to do with Twilight Princess HD and the Wind Waker HD, which I think all of us as Zelda people would love to see ported over, but yeah, I'm pretty excited by this prospect because I think Skyward Sword, of all of the games, could really use an HD remaster for a couple of reasons. One, as you're seeing in this video, the footage of Skyward Sword in HD is absolutely glorious. And we don't know that it's going to be this type of HD, and they might do some different things and some different overhauls to it, but either way, that art style, that painterly art style they did at the time, which was intentionally done because the game wasn't in HD to make the background blurriness look a little artistic, actually looks extremely, extremely good as is. So I think that is really, really cool in HD. And on top of that, there's obviously the motion controls. The motion controls in Skyward Sword were always a controversial sticking point. Everyone knew it was coming because of the Wii era, because we had imagined one-to-one sword controls since the Wii was released for a Zelda game. And when we got it, for some people, it wasn't as good as it could be. For others, it was just too limiting. And admittedly, you are limited to a certain access for your strokes. The game was built around this, by the way. And for those who wonder how could traditional controls work, well, people have done it in emulators. They've taken emulators and they've modified all the motion stuff to button presses and stick directions. So it's already been done by fans, so it could be done by Nintendo. So I think that's kind of the big sticking point why people really want to see this remastered in HD or at least something like that, is because they could potentially add in traditional controls to a game that people might not have enjoyed with the motion controls. Now, obviously, I think motion controls would always still be there, always still be an option. The game was built for it. It's already set up for it. The Switch has motion controls. Obviously, I think what would upset people is if they pulled Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, and made it where when you play on TV, you have to use motion controls, while handheld lets you use traditional controls, which would basically mean it doesn't support the Pro Controller. I think that would be a little disappointing. And honestly, I think the motion controls are the best a Zelda has ever played control-wise for me. It's the most immersed I've ever felt in the Zelda game in terms of the combat. And it's just, to me, I had no issues with the motion controls, but I understand some did. So having an option of play that doesn't include them, as long as it doesn't affect the already pre-built motion controls, which it shouldn't, I think is exactly what needs to happen with Skyward Sword. This doesn't mean, like, there's other Zelda games we should get in HD someday, right? Like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, games that were never made for HD. Even when they were remastered, it was for 3DS, so still not in HD. It would be nice to get those in HD one day as well, have an entire HD collection of all of the quote-unquote 3D Zelda games. It feels weird calling them that. We used to distinguish between 2D and 3D, but then like the top-down games started adding like 3D elements and becoming 2.5D, and it's kind of like, not 2D, 3D doesn't really work. But whatever, you get my point. Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, The Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, and Breath of the Wild should all be in HD at some point. So 3 of them already are. We basically are just missing Ocarina of Time, Skyward Sword, and Majora's Mask. So I can't wait, and I would assume this would be a game next year. Now, is this the game that was being teased by Game Informer on their podcast? And I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, if this was what was being teased, because I have a feeling if Skyward Sword HD was happening, the main Zelda team is probably not making it. They probably outsourced it to Grezzo or to that team that did Twilight Princess HD in Australia. So I just have a feeling that whatever was being teased by Game Informer wasn't this. It's that they are still working on a Zelda game. And in fact, I could see them announcing Skyward Sword HD for release next year while still teasing and technically announcing the next Zelda game for 2020. I think that actually would make a hell of a lot of sense. It's actually what I thought they would do this year. Release Skyward Sword this year, maybe a new Zelda game next year. But even pushing it back a year, that also gives a major game for 2020, which would be awesome. And obviously gives another really nice remaster for next year. Not just a normal port, but an actual remaster. I think would be very, very good for the Zelda series. I wish Nintendo would do this with more of their series, by the way. I know a lot of people want to see Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3 remastered before 4 comes out. For some reason, Zelda seems to be the series they are most willing to do these HD remasters on. Maybe it's just interest from the fans and interest from the development team. And Eiji Aonuma, maybe he's actually the big proponent of all these HD remasters because there's so many games like Galaxy 1 and 2. Wouldn't that be great to see that remastered? But for some reason, it's Zelda. Zelda's the series we get remasters for. But hey, you know what? I'm a Zelda guy, so I'm not going to complain. Anyways, that's kind of the news we have. I'll put links down to the Reset Era thread that has the quote. I'll also put, the translation of the quote anyways. Link to the original place that has all the Chinese and stuff going on if you happen to be able to understand it. I did use Google Translate on it, which is obviously a little rough to try to confirm it. There were multiple people talking about it. I'll also put a link to where I got that from, which was a Reddit thread talking about it as well. Again, this is kind of taking over the internet slowly here today, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. And what you are seeing right now is an example of what Skyward Sword might look like in HD on Nintendo Switch. Anyways, folks, I'm Nintendo Rumble from Nintendo Prime, and remember to enter our Nintendo Switch Super Smash Bros. Ultimate giveaway. There's a Gleam.io link down in the description. The only requirement is that you are subscribed to the channel. There is additional entries you can get for watching certain videos or participating in certain things like retweeting, sharing with your friends, all that stuff. But you know what? All you need to do to enter, though, is just be a subscriber to the channel, because I want to reward people who are subscribed versus just random passerbys that maybe only have ever seen one video I've ever made. All right, folks. I'll just catch all of you guys in the next one.